All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck. I'm along with Jordan Bianchi. We are motorsports writers for The Athletic, and Jordan is at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval, where he has just witnessed another one of those wacky team chaos finishes. So you must be happy, Jordan, with the ending there, I'm assuming.
I mean, it's so funny. This race was very dull until the last 15 laps or so. Very dull. One of the more dull playoff races in recent memory. And then Logano pits, and then from there, it's tense. And everything is on the line. And the last 10, 15 laps or whatever that was, that is about as good as it gets for the playoffs in terms of this situation. And this is – can't believe this is why if you don't like the playoffs, you don't have a great day today. This is a dull, forgettable race, but the playoff drama and everything on the line heightened that, and it elevated it to a higher level than it would have been otherwise. And I'm glad that we had the playoff format today, because otherwise this would have been a very forgettable race where the winner and everything else that transpired would have been an afterthought. But instead, we've got playoff driver. Playoff drama. And I just want to say this too. You let Joey Logano on to the next round. They are going to regret this. You picked him to be in the championship for, Jeff, you called it. Like this guy is one of those horror movie monsters that you can't put down, and he just finds a way to get in, and they did it again.
Well, there's a lot to unpack, obviously, in this show, but I can't believe you're going to start off by immediately chasing away our listeners who don't want to hear you defend the playoffs yet again. And I'm surprised that
Logano defended it after the race.
Yeah, Joey Logano defended the playoffs. The guy who loves the playoffs.
If you don't think the regular season matters, he's like, this is a perfect example of why the regular season matters.
Okay, let's just back up here. First of all, I'm not sure that your point of this would have been a totally dull race without the playoffs applied to it is accurate. Yes, SVG won by 15 seconds, but he was battling with Larson and Bell really hard.
For a couple of laps, but not really.
Well, let's say if there's no playoffs, there's still a championship going on, Jordan, and you would have had two of the top guys in the points trying to get ahead of SVG and win. So that could have been a sub, but we don't know if.
Hang on.
Oh, what? Go ahead.
In the championship season-long format, the case could have actually been made that Larson and Bell are looking at the big picture saying, I don't want to go toe-to-toe with this guy and start bumping and banging and putting myself in this position. They could have easily said, I'm just going to take the points. No, like Larson's in a position in that stage, he didn't need to race. He was racing for the win. He could race solely for the win, and it made it better. In a season-long championship, it would have been, we have seen it countless times, where a driver says, I'm going to be smart here. If this guy's going to beat me up, I'm letting him go. Yeah, it's going to be for a few more points. I might like that, but I actually want to finish the race, and I'll take my second place finish. So there is no guarantee.
Not if you make worth winning enough points to incentivize it. Anyway, I can't believe that we're only in this discussion, because
I didn't want to be in this discussion, but here we are. You can't argue that.
You brought it up. You're using this to justify why the playoffs are great. I look at the finish and I'm like, you're saying you love that and this is everything great about the playoffs. To me, the last lap it made me feel it gave me sort of an Austin Dillon Richmond vibe.
Also,
you're applauding that a driver goes in. A driver is told, you're out of the playoffs. Do what you need to do. And he goes into the last corner and completely cleans out another competitor who had nothing to do with anything to give himself a spot in the next round. That's what happened. Logano on the backstretch was in. He was tied because he had made the pass, and Chastain had gotten passed by Hamlin. So they were tied. Chastain was told, you need one more spot. You've got to pass Hamlin. This is everything. So he drives in there and cleans Hamlin out intentionally on purpose, right? To try to give himself the last spot, which, by the way, would NASCAR have even let that stand? I don't think so. But I'm not like, oh, that's awesome. I love that. That's so cool. I don't and maybe I'm biased because I've already made up my mind about the playoffs. I'm sure you'll say that. That's what the counter argument will be. But that wasn't like classic thrilling racing moment for me. That was like, oh geez, oh my gosh, like this is not what I don't think that is what you want to see. That's how you want to decide who moves on, by cleaning out a driver that wasn't even involved in the
battle. He didn't move on. And he and because of what he didn't move on. But because Logano raced his butt off and he had a gutsy call by his crew chief, like he was rewarded for that. And Chastain, if he would have been able to defend better, would have been in a better position. It's a fascinating dynamic. But to watch a driver in the 22 go all out over the last 11 laps, like
that was great.
Good. That was fantastic. And to watch Chastain hold on for dear life. I'm not going to sit here and defend like Chastain cleaning out Hamlin at the end. There is no excuse for that, and that should be policed. But that can happen.
Do you think? Wait, hold on a second. Hang on. What would NASCAR have done? You say it should be policed. Do you think NASCAR looks at that finish and goes, "Nope, no, you can't do that to move on. So you are back to the lead lap, or whatever it is." And
I think in this
what would they have done there?
I think in this environment, I think they would have. I really do. And let's not pretend, by the way, that guy getting wiped out on the last lap by somebody just happens in this format, because it happened a lot in the old format as well. This isn't just there was many of times where guys were wiped out.
So you're saying it would have been a penalty? Because I think
they had. I think if all of the things that happened last year at Martinsville and the talk and the conversation about the integrity, and I think way NASCAR's kind of police things now a little bit, I think you have to come down heavy on that. Like, you can't let that go. There has to be a line in the sand. And I'm not saying. I think they would have. I really do think they would have, and I think they would have looked at last year at Austin Dillon, at Richmond as the case study and how do we handle this. We can't just have somebody just cleaning somebody out at the right, wrong, or different. I think they would have, and I don't think it would have. I don't even think it would have been a hesitant. I don't even think they would have waited on it. I think it would have been a pretty clear cut call. Question for you.
I would have taken 10 minutes, but I agree with you that. Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think you can do that. Now, I also don't fault Ross Chastain at all, because if you're Ross Chastain and you're saying, okay, I need one more lap or one more position here, right? Okay. The negatives are you might get penalized for it, but if not, you're going to be out anyway. The other negative is you create an enemy with Denny Hamlin by taking him out.
You've already done that.
You probably don't. That's probably worth the risk. And then you can apologize and hope that Denny understands and say, maybe you would have done the same thing if you were me or something, whatever. Right. So I think the risk for Chastain in that situation is very low.
Oh yeah.
Or you say, you say, yeah, that wasn't a clean move. Oh,
whatever.
Okay.
Like what, people are not going to like Ross Chastain. Like he's used to that. Like, he's okay being known as the guy who's
right. You go for your team and you do what you got to do. So I don't fault Ross Chastain for it, but I do think it would have been a penalty ultimately. Yeah. And then you would have had this whole scene after the race where it would have been, everybody's looking around. Oh, who's going to be the last person in? Then the call comes down. Penalty on the one car for aggressive driving, back to the lead lap. Oh my gosh, Logano's in. And then what it would have been? Oh, Logano again. Oh my gosh, NASCAR's just putting him in. He missed the cut for the second straight year. Last year somebody got DQ'd, and now it's a penalty. As it was, people are already saying, oh, Logano got in because Chastain went for the last lap. Logano was in.
That had nothing to do with it.
Logano was in.
Point. Yeah.
And to back up, I agree with your point about it was very compelling seeing him pit for tires with 10 or 11 laps to go, whatever it was, make the move. They knew they weren't they weren't quite as fast as Chastain. They didn't have the speed, so they had to do something. And I think that was a gold, a gutsy, bold move. And I thought that Chastain might then cover it. Like the last time Logano pitted, Chastain came in one lap later immediately. I guess at that point they just felt like, yeah, man, you know what? Let's, we have enough of a gap here. Let's try it. Let's stay out. And it was a long run on those tires, but it almost worked. It really did.
It almost did. But to me, I agree 100% with you. That was the decisive moment there. It was when the 22 came in and they looked at the data, and I talked to Paul Wolf about this, and he said clearly that was our only move. Like, it was, we were going to be faster on fresher tires. It was the only chance we had. If I'm the one, you have to cover. You absolutely have to cover. because if you're putting Joey Logano in attack mode on fresher tires on a track where fresh tires matter, and you're going to be backsliding if you're the one, that you've got fresher guys on fresher tires coming. I don't see how you do that. Plus, if you get a caution there in the last couple laps, you're really cooked, because then you either have to pit and you're going to have to start way behind the 22, or you're going to have to stay out and the 22 is going to be bunched up with you. I don't know why you don't cover there just to be safe, because if you can just hold serve, you're moving on. Instead, you stay out, and this is what happened. So I do not. That is the turning point of the race, was that decision right there.
Well, another turning point, let's be honest. I messaged you at the end of stage 1. Was it the end of stage 1? It was either the end of stage 1 or stage 2. I think it was stage 1. And I said, mark that moment down when Suarez didn't pass Logano to save his tires. Maybe it was the end of stage 2. Anyway, whatever. The end of one of the stages, Suarez had faster. 1, I believe, yeah. He had newer tires, but he was trying to, I think, save his tires because they were going to stay out. Mm-hmm. He could have passed Logano, who was slower and was trying to stay out for stage points, right? If Suarez passes Logano, that is 1 point. And that wouldn't have been race manipulation by any stretch of imagination. Mm-hmm. Now, it would have helped your teammate a lot, though, if you go, hey, we know Logano is racing my teammate Chastain. Hey, relay the message to Suarez. Do whatever you can to pass Logano right now. Yes, you're going to burn up your tires a little bit, but we need you to get this spot. This is 1 point. This could matter at the end of the race. As the laps were winding down, that kept coming back into my mind. Mm-hmm. Like, that was it. If the 1 point, then Ross doesn't even need to do what he did on the last lap with Hamlin.
And we saw that with SVG too, being a good teammate and letting Ross go. And
for one of the points.
For one of the points. So it's, you're right. You're 100% right. That's, I don't understand why that didn't happen. I don't know if there's not a communication thing there or not, but
and again, that's not race manipulation, because you're not saying don't let somebody go. You're just saying, hey, pass that guy.
Yeah, pass that guy.
We need you to do everything you can to pass that guy, right? Yeah. So that was a move that could come back as well. I'm glad that we didn't see any further, because Suarez did finish 7th today. Mm-hmm. Now you could have seen some sort of had Martinsville not happened last year, stuff like that. Maybe you see, hey, we got a pit or whatever, something like that.
And we
or you see him falling back or whatever.
And you're right. And I'll even go further. That is Todd Gilliland in a Ford. Front Row Motorsports has a relationship, an alliance with Team Penske. Passed Logano without even thinking about it, and went on. Now he ended up getting to.
He ended up passing. He passed Ross as well.
Yeah, yes. But like in that moment, like he didn't even think about it. And there was a couple times where Joey was frustrated with other Ford drivers on the track and how they were racing and everything. So there was none of the shenanigans that happened at Martinsville, which is really good to see.
Just cleaning up the Logano point. One more thing about the tires. I was shocked though that it actually didn't work better, because I imagine this is not what they thought was going to happen. They pitted. They came out 24th. He finished 20th, and that was after he passed Chastain and Hamlin on the last lap after they did their spin. Yep. So he was really only 22nd. So he came out with fresh tires and only got 2 spots.
Yeah, he was 24 seconds behind Chastain when he exited pit road on lap and a half used tires. It was scuffs, so they had a lap and a half on them. They just didn't have a fast car. Plain and simple. They just did not have a fast race car. The one was clearly faster. Paul Wolfe said that afterwards. They just did not have the same pace as the one, which is why they had to think outside the box, which is what this team does so good, man. Like, they find a way. It doesn't matter. They don't have the fastest car. It doesn't matter. We're going to still beat you. Whether it's on fuel mileage, on tires, or strategy, it doesn't matter. They find a way. This is the villain in the horror movie that cannot die.
Or it's the James Bond MacGyver-esque guy that keeps escaping when it looks like there's no chance. I mean, because you're right. Like it really, I was like, man, they got him this time. Even with Chastain, missing the turn at the end of pit road and then speeding on pit road, shocking. Yep. 2 shocking mistakes, right? Like that are just unbelievable in a crucial clutch playoff race.
Nope.
Even then, Logano pitting, and it's like, oh, the strategy usually works out. They usually would have done something. They had nothing, and he's going to get his worst Roval finish, and he's gone. And then he somehow did it anyway. Unbelievable. That, I mean, I did a poll. I don't know what it ended up being. I did like a flash poll during the race of, if you were the other competitors, who would you rather see, still survive and move on? And like overwhelmingly, obviously,
Chastain.
It was Chastain, because so the final vote was 85%, 86% would have liked to see Logano eliminated. If you were the other playoff drivers, and 14% for Chastain. Now, Denny Hamlin might have been among them, because I'm confused about what he was saying there. Denny Hamlin seemed upset after the race that he did not know the situation, right, Jordan?
Yeah.
So what is he talking about there? Is he saying that he would have backed off to let Logano in the playoffs, or is he saying that he would have rather just not had his race ruined by not that it was going to be great, but not be taken on the last lap by somebody who was desperate? Yeah. What was he saying?
We kind of got to backtrack a little bit here. We got to backtrack quite a bit. Let's start with this. There's a bunch of cars on new tires that are catching Chastain, and they blew by him. The 11 was clipping off fast laps and got to the 1. It looked like they were going to blow by him. Then the 11 slowed down. I haven't looked at the time, so this is me telling you what other people said. Paul Wolf, the 11 Hamlin slowed down and seemed to like back off from wanting to pass the 1. Okay. And on the radio of the 22, you could hear radio transmission going, he's not going to pass him. He's not going to pass him. This is race manipulation. Paul Wolf said this after the race. I asked him about it. I said, did you think this? He goes, he obviously didn't want to pass him. They're scared of us. Like literally, they're scared. They do not want us to advance. They're scared of us. So the thought was, did Denny really back off to let Ross Chastain go forward because he wants Chastain to go on and not Logano? So that's kind of the scene, okay? So I asked Hamlin this question after the race. I said, did you back off? He goes, no. I had no radio communication whatsoever for my team. And there is video after the race of him talking to his crew chief, Chris Gale, saying, hey, I had no idea of the circumstances. And he had no idea. So I asked Danny about this, and he goes, I knew the 1 was racing for the playoff spot, the transfer spot. I didn't want to do anything that was going to cost him one way or another. I didn't want to get into him. I didn't want to move him on the track. He was trying to be respectful. And so that is why he backed off. And then when Chastain slipped up there and opened the hole, that's when Denny went. There was no thought from Denny of, hey, I need to back off here because I don't want Logano to advance. He had no idea at the time. That said, Denny did say he would have liked to have known. And then I asked Denny, I said, so knowing the situation, would you want the 1 or the 22 to move on? And he goes, I have to do what's best for me. And so he smiled when he said it. And I said, now you got to race the 22 for the next 3 weeks. And he smiled and goes, I got to do what's best for me. My interpretation was, if he had known the situation, he would have played defense and let Chastain move on than the 22.
Well, I'm a little bit murky on that, because what's also best for him is he referenced either on TV or in the Scrum interview that I saw that one of the media members posted, that, he was trying to get a better qualifying metric, and that's what he was racing so hard for. And so, this cost him, let's see, he probably would have finished 18th, I believe. Yes, he would have finished 18th, and he finished 23rd. So that cost him 5 spots, I guess, being taken out. So is he saying what would have been best for him was not being taken out and finishing 5 spots higher to help his cause? That's what's best for him? Or is he saying what's best for me is Logano not being in it? Because he also said, either on TV or to you guys, because somebody said, well, Logano, and he said, well, the 1 has more speed than the 22. But so he's not necessarily,
this was his quote. This is what he said to me. And that was me that asked that question. And I said, the 20, now you got to race the 22 for the next 3 weeks. And he goes, on pace, the 1 is faster than the 22, obviously. But if it comes down to the final four, I mean, the 22 has probably got a lot of leg up on us there. I'm just trying to advance. And again, I wish I didn't know. He goes, and again, I don't know if I was running 10th or 25th or what. I had no idea the communication. So it certainly seems like that Denny was thinking big picture here. And like the 22 gets to the championship 4 where they're so good, they're at a deficit. And so that's why, yes, the 1 may be faster, but big picture, the 22 is more dangerous.
Well, in that case, clearly the script is going to be that Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano are racing for the championship. Denny trying to get his first ever championship at Phoenix, and Joey wins it. And Denny would have had 2 chances in the last 2 weeks to take Logano out. Bubba would have gotten in and knocked Logano below the cut line, and then today as well. So Denny would then rue in the most Denny Hamlin fashion ever that he loses the championship by letting Logano stay alive. But I guess that's how it always goes. But anyway, interesting, certainly. And yes, I mean, I've been saying all along, this is why I picked Logano to win the championship this year. He goes in by far the lowest into the next round, like minus 24 points or something to the cut line already.
Yeah.
Nobody else is even in, I don't even think anybody else is in double digits below the cut line, if I'm not mistaken. And yet he is so freaking dangerous. It's unbelievable. I mean, people should be absolutely shaking in their boots for Talladega alone, let alone who knows what they can figure out how to do. By the way, a Penske related car did win in Vegas on speed straight up in March. So they're going to have great notes there, even though they've been off at other places, at other mile and a halfs, I guess. And then Martinsville, you never know. So man, super, super dangerous to still have Logano in this, as well as Blaney. And of course, Jordan, it ends up being the final 8 it wasn't straight up chalk in terms of like the seeds necessarily, but it's straight up chalk in terms of all the final 8 are from the big 3 teams. 3 from Hendrick, 3 from Joe Gibbs Racing, 2 from Penske. There you go.
I just want to close the loop on the Logano thing really quick. They're already thinking win. He said to me, we now need to go win one of the next 3 races. We cannot advance on points. They're already thinking win. And to me, that is forget anything else. Our strategy is going to be set on full tilt. We're going for a win. Whatever we need to do, not race conservatively. That's dangerous for the competition.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, they haven't really shown even today. I mean, they didn't have this overwhelming performance to like, oh, here they come. And Logano had 6 top 10 finishes in 7 career Roval starts. Today finished 20th, his worst career finish at the Roval, and still makes it. So, man, it's pretty crazy now. Let's talk about, I guess, Jordan, who didn't make it. Chastain, obviously, look, was he going to make it to the Final Four? Probably not, unless he wins Talladega. But was trying to carry that car on his back once again. And those 2 mistakes obviously are going to haunt him. But, I think a pretty, honestly, overall, judging by the speed they had this year, I think Chastain had a good season. What do you think?
I don't think if you're going to vote for like an MVP of driver, like most valuable driver, Ross Chastain deserves votes. Like he's not going to win it and he shouldn't win it, but he definitely needs to be in the running. Like what he did this year was so impressive of how he lifted up that team. He put it on their back. Like he just works and he grinds. And he didn't have the best strategy. They had issues on pit road. It doesn't matter. He figures out a way. He wasn't like they blew everybody's doors off. He just grinds. And he certainly deserved to move on today. It just didn't work out. And to me, this wasn't a Ross Chastain failed to advance. I don't think the team put him in a position to advance. We talked about the pit strategy. Like you're leaving your driver on an island. Why? When all you have to do is stay close to Logano. You've already got him beat on speed. What he did this year was incredibly impressive. And if you were going to do some kind of ballot for driver of the year, he deserves a nod, man. He deserves a little bit of tip of the hat of just what he did this year.
Man, there was that one restart at one point where he and Logano started alongside each other, somewhat buried in the pack, and he just picked up like 6 or 7 spots on the opening lap. He was driving so hard, going where they weren't. Both of those guys are such hard-nosed racers, and but he did. You could say, well, the team didn't put him in a good position, but those 2 mistakes were really, really costly as well.
Fully admit that those were bad, and without one of those mistakes, you're moving on. And he certainly, that's on him, 100%. But this is a guy who works really, really hard and grinds away behind the scenes and puts in the time. And it would be interesting to see what he could do with better cars, because what he's doing right now is really impressive. But yeah, I mean, those mistakes were killer, and you can't have that in this situation. You didn't have to be perfect today. You got 1 mulligan, but you didn't get 2, and that is on Ross.
Now, Jordan, here's a tricky one. So we thought Tyler Reddick was pretty much going to have to win the race coming into today. What we didn't count on was the 2 people ahead of him both not having great performances. I mean, they're both going to finish outside the top 15. So Reddick only misses the cut by 12. Look, if you had it all over to do again, had to all over again, excuse me, and you could say, oh, we're going to be points wise, we might be close. Do you think that changes anything about their day or how they approach this race, knowing they would have been in the ballpark given those guys didn't have great performances?
Yeah, I don't think you can do that just because it's hindsight 2020. You go into it and you say, listen, we know what these guys are going to do, then you can change your strategy, but you don't know. And I think in the situation going in here, you talk to anybody on the 2311 team, they all said the same thing. Even Tyler said it too. Like, we're effectively in a must-win position. And I think, and honestly, they needed to be. I mean, you could plan your strategy differently if you know this, when the cautions are going to fall and who's going to have problems, but you don't. I think they planned accordingly today. You need a little bit of luck sometimes. They didn't get it, but they put themselves in a position. But that's kind of the totality of their season, right? Like, good, but not good enough. Close, but not able to kind of get across that finish line. They were in the mix at times this year. They were in the top 5 at points at various points. It felt like they were just on that cusp of what we saw a year ago. But they just were missing just a little bit. And that was the difference between them moving on and not, because, you look at bonus points or, playoff points and all the other things. They didn't do that this year compared to a year ago. And so it's, you can look at today and you look at their playoff. I mean, you go to Loudon, you finish 21st. You go to Kansas, you finish 7th. Kansas was good, should have been better. Loudon, you can't finish 21st in a race and think you're going to be in a position that you're going to be able to race and to move on. So it's tough, but at the end of the day, they just weren't good enough.
Bubba Wallace also finished 15th today. And, we've seen him get a lot better on road courses. This was fine, but it wasn't anything close to what he was going to need to do, which was going to win. Obviously, last week was the difference for them. And it sounds like there was some ill feelings that carried over, at least to the start of the weekend, between Bubba and Denny. If you're Bubba, how do you look at this season now? You had the great start to the playoffs. You were in contention to win Kansas and move on in stirring fashion, be the one driver, perhaps not in the big 3 organizations. Got raced hard by your team owner, for right or wrong, and out after round 2. What do you think?
I think you look at the season as a whole, successful. Obviously, you win the Brickyard 400 on merit. You beat Kyle Larson there, of all people. You lock yourself in the playoffs for the first time ever well in advance, which is not something he's done before. More consistent, running better week to week. And you go back to Kansas. He put himself in a position in effectively a must-win situation. He did everything he probably should have done. There wasn't, he didn't screw up on that last lap. It wasn't anything he did. I think if you're Bubba Wallace and this team, you look at this and go, We did a really good job. We had a very good year. It's frustrating. You feel like it maybe got away from you a little bit, especially with how that next round sets up with the super speedway, Martinsville, and Las Vegas, 3 of his better tracks. But I still think you have to feel pretty good about your year because it wasn't like this team self-destructed. They had a bad race in New Hampshire. That is inexcusable for sure. But it wasn't like they imploded. They didn't have issues on pit road. They didn't do anything else. They put themselves out there and they did a good job. And I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, yeah, he's good at the Roval. But was anybody going to beat SVG today? Like, I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a tall task. Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, hat tip to them for giving it a go. But even then, they still got smoked. I mean, if you're in a must-win position going into a road course, you might as well just give it up.
Well, also Austin Cindric gets eliminated. Now, I had Chastain, Reddick, and Wallace out this round.
Damn.
But I had Elliott also out because I had Austin Cindric moving to the round of 8. I really thought that Austin Cindric was going to be strong enough at the Roval and have a great Loudon like his teammates did at Loudon, and then just be at least somewhat decent at Kansas to give himself a shot. They just let me read you Austin Cindric's playoffs. I mean, this is not what I expected from them. 12th, 19th, 30th, 17th, 30th, 37th. No top 10s in the playoffs so far. And they're out. I just thought, man, they were going to be able to ride that Penske magic and be able to get farther. And it never even was really a thought, really.
I've always, no disrespect, I just never saw it. And I thought it was courageous of you to make that pick. And I look at this, I mean, he's got 1 top 5 finish since his win at Talladega this year, and that was at Richmond. And they finished 5th. It's just, this team is not Penske as a whole. You kind of got to separate the 12 a little bit from the 22 and the 2. The 12 has been fantastic. The 22 and the 2 just haven't not had a lot of speed this year, period. Consistently. And they have struggled. And that has been the thing. And Cindric is a perfect example of that. You read those numbers, and I'm like, okay, like it's kind of what they have been this year. That's where they've ran. That's how they do these things. And so it just hasn't been a team that has really exhibited any kind of life. I mean, yes, he's led some laps here and there at Indianapolis and Iowa, but you look at the numbers, man, it's pretty sparse. And you can't go that long of a stretch with 1 top 5 and think you're going to be a team. Like I get your thinking. I understand it. And I think it applies to the 22. I just never thought it was going to apply to the 2. But Cindric is, again, for the 13th, this is his 4th year now. He's won a race 3 or 4 years, made the playoffs 3 years. Like that's a pretty good, career progression.
Well, both of because this has been sort of a chalky playoff so far, and there hasn't been a huge name or upset, that nobody's really been eliminated. We have a very strong group of drivers in the final 8, which includes, I believe, all of our final 4 picks that we had pre-playoffs, which again, it's not like we went out on a limb here. So the question is, Jordan,
am I stuck with Larson? Can I change mine or am I stuck with Larson?
That's what I was going to ask you. So here's a chance you can stick with your final 4 and your champion. So mine pre-playoffs was Logano champion, joined by Blaney, Hamlin, and Briscoe in the final 4. Briscoe getting the last spot over Bell, I said. And I had no Hendrick drivers in the final 4. Larson does, has shown flash of speed. I'm still pretty worried about Byron. I'm worried about Elliott. So I'm not, nothing so far has screamed, oh, I was really super far off about Hendrick. I think they have some work to do. But so I'm going to stick with my final 4 with the 2 Penskes, even though Logano's a long shot, he just keeps getting it done, and 2 JGR cars. And at this point, I'll stick with Logano winning it because it seems to happen. So you don't want to pick Larson as your final as your champion anymore. Who would be your final 4 and champion at this point?
Blaney's my champion. I think
Okay.
he's in a good spot too, where he doesn't necessarily need to win the next 3 weeks. 3 very good tracks for him, with the points and everything and the structure. He's only plus 6. That's not a lot. But I think he's in a spot. He's going to move on. If he gets to Phoenix with a shot at this championship, it's Ryan Blaney. I still believe in Kyle Larson. They're going to Vegas. Good track for him. Much improved, by the way, on super speedways and drafting. Running consistently up there now. Done a good job. Won a stage at Daytona this year. I'm going to go with Christopher Bell. I like that team a lot, especially at Las Vegas. He's also very good. He's sneaky good in drafting tracks. He's good at Martinsville. I am really torn between Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano. Like, performance-wise, how can you not pick Denny Hamlin, right? But man, it just feels like we're living in the same movie again as last year with Joey Logano, and they're going to be committed. Like, you would think they're going to put all their eggs in the basket of really winning Talladega. And that he's going to have support there. I'm going to go the 22. I'm going to go Ryan Blaney, Larson, Christopher Bell, and Joey Logano.
Okay. So we have Bell and Larson different because I have Hamlin and Briscoe, but along the same lines of thinking.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like we're both pretty worried, though, about William Byron. Let me read you William Byron's playoff finishes. 21st, 11th, 12th, 3rd, 9th, 11th.
Mm-hmm.
And he is he's led 0 laps in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, we said this last week on the show. We went through the stats, man. Like, this isn't the same. We overhyped them based on him winning the regular season championship because they were able to just knock out decent finishes. But you look at laps led, with the exception of Iowa where he won, he has not led a bunch of laps this year. He's not won stages. He's not done the things that you want to see. And there's nothing about their performance so far that screams this team is going to a championship. So I don't see it. Maybe they find it. Maybe they go to Las Vegas and that's their catalyst they need. We'll see. We know how good they are in drafting tracks, and he's won at Martinsville before, so who knows? So we'll see. By the way, Chase Elliott, just really quick, he's terrible at Las Vegas. In this next-gen era, you look at his stats at Las Vegas, it's bad. It's really bad. This is his worst track. Things have happened there, and I asked him about that the other day. I said, why? What's the change? And he's like, we haven't hit on it there. When we've had speed, we've had bad luck, we've been in accidents, but the numbers are the numbers. They're not good at Las Vegas. I think that's worrisome. And in this round with this competition, as good as it is, because this is pretty elite, and this is stacked. Yeah. I just don't think you're going to be able to afford to have a bad race.
Well, and I think I saw, I don't have it in front of me, but Hamlin's the points leader, but he's only +8 to the cut line already. Like, so now that, all of, except for Logano, most of the lower points guys are gone. It's very, very, very tight. So pretty much all your advantage is wiped out. And now it's a pretty much straight up battle for these final 4 races. So that's going to be interesting for sure. It's just been wild. Like, even today, Roval wise, you just would have thought, well, somebody is going to have a wreck on a restart or something, but nothing really. I mean, there was one caution today for the Austin Dillon in the tires.
Yep.
And even he got going after that, but they had to repair the tire barrier. That was the only caution for cause of the race. So I don't know. Are you Rovaled out yet, or?
Oh, we're going to get there. Okay. That's the theme of the weekend, though, Jeff. You look at the Truck Series race. I know lap 1 of that race was chaotic, herky-jerky, and it went out. But it settled down, and then there was a late restart, and you thought, oh, man, all hell's going to break loose. It didn't. The Xfinity Series race, there was moments late in that race. You're like, oh, here we go. It's going to get crazy. Never did. Today, you're kind of waiting for it. You're like, when is this going to happen? This is going to get reset, and everybody's going to go at. It never did. It was very flat, At times the racing was good, but it wasn't anything memorable. And thank goodness that we had this drama between the 22 and the 1. Otherwise, we got nothing to talk about. that brings us to the Roval. Yeah, I'm Roval out. I'm over it. Like what this is, you look at the 600 this year, that is what NASCAR is on a 1.5-mile racetrack. Great racing, multiple grooves, guys going after it, hanging it out there, trying to, figure out how to manage lines, manage tires fast, all of these things. How cool would a playoff race be on the Charlotte Oval? Like I kid you, you can't get anybody to agree on anything anymore, but you should throw a poll up. Like I'm just curious, and I would be fascinated to see what the number would be, because if it's not in the high 90s, if it's not 98%, I'll be shocked. Who wants, besides SVG and his family and friends and maybe Trackhouse, who wants the Roval?
The last few years of this, I've been sort of like angry about it and been like, man, this is just, what are they still doing? Now I almost feel like just resigned or defeated about it, because because this has been the sentiment, right? Like, it's not like this is suddenly this year, like, you know what? I'm starting to think the Roval might have run its course. No, that was like the conversation 3 years ago or something.
Yeah.
And year after year, every Charlotte race, whether it's the Oval or this one, people are like, why are we doing the Roval in the fall again? I mean, the Oval would be spectacular. This car races so well. What are we doing? To me, I wasn't there today, so it's unfair for me to make a proper evaluation, but certainly on TV and the in-car cameras, it didn't look like a large crowd. Now, I know the Carolina Panthers were home, if you want to use that as an excuse, but I mean, I was under the impression that SMI wanted to keep this race because the fans wanted it and they sold tickets for it. It didn't seem like, I mean, are they really going to sell fewer tickets for the Oval if they had put it on the Oval than this one? I mean, the Oval would be spectacular. It seems like, to me, it seems like a no-brainer, but for whatever reason, it's not going away, and it's still on the schedule for next year. And it just keeps, even though, like you said, everybody you talk to is just like, yeah, no, get rid of that. The decision makers don't see it that way. And so we keep seeing this again and again. And I got to tell you, Jordan, I mean, this was my last race covering from home this year. And so at my time, 11 o'clock here Mountain Time, 1 o'clock Eastern, I flip on football. I'm watching my Denver Broncos start the game. They're playing on the East Coast. I'm watching Red Zone channel. And right before it gets into the witching hour on Red Zone, middle third quarter, this race starts. I come into my office, turn off the TV. I focus on this race. And I'm like, man, how many people, you have to be really dedicated to NASCAR for the people that is not their job to be watching an NFL Sunday, because I think there's a pretty big crossover of NFL fans and NASCAR fans. And you have to be a pretty big fan to be like, you know what? Forget that. I'm going to turn all the NFL stuff off, or at least second screen or whatever, and I'm going to focus my attention on the Roval. Get pumped. And, it's just like, I just don't see a lot. Now, had it been the Oval, again, to me, I would have been like, okay, here we go. Like, what's going to happen today? This should be sweet. This should be a good race, I bet. Maybe that's just me, but to me, like, the excitement level, the juice, the whole race felt like we were waiting for exactly what happened the last 10 laps. What is going to, we're waiting to see, okay, after they do the final pit stops, what is the points between the last two drivers on the cut line, Logano and Chastain? That was the only drama, the battle for it. And what's it going to be? And then what's going to happen between them? And look, you got a great payoff for those last 10 laps. It was interesting to see Logano come through the field and Chastain try to hang on. But when you're selling this as the playoff race, the elimination race, and that's the whole thing, and the road, I don't know, that it wasn't enough for me to be like, this was awesome. So I sure would have loved to see the Oval, and I don't know what the poll will say about it, but SVG dominance aside, I just didn't. And again, you did have some great battles with SVG and Larson.
But it was fleeting, though. It wasn't like a prolonged thing. It was a couple laps. Like, let's not pretend that this was like some like 10, 15 lap, duel. It was a couple of laps, and it quickly subsided. If the idea is to put NASCAR in the best position possible to have success and to put on the best racing and most entertaining racing, the most entertaining product to make people want to watch and say, man, that's cool. I want to watch that again. I don't know if what you saw the first 80% of this race today did that. But I feel confident that if you were to take what happened here on the Charlotte Oval in May and put it here today, people would have been left here like, man, that's badass. Those guys were going after it. Think of how in the last few laps of the 600, Byron and Chastain were hanging it out there, and they're fighting their cars, trying to set each other up and all this stuff. And then you add the playoff drama and everything else. Like, that is putting yourself in a position to say, this is what we do best. This is who we are. You talk about all these marketing campaigns that are going on or being talked about, right? That's your marketing campaign. Two guys going fast with old tires, hanging out there on a classic oval track, battling it out for their championship, livelihood. That makes people entertained. That's how you get viewers. That's how you get people to say, you know what, that was pretty badass. Oh, they're going to 1.5 miles next week in Las Vegas. What time? Because I'm going to watch.
Yeah, look, of course, we all agree that there was a long time in NASCAR history where you would have said 3.5 mile tracks in a row. Ugh. Oh my gosh. Let's get something
injected into my veins.
I personally don't need any road course in the playoffs now. Like I'm of the belief I don't need it though. I certainly don't need the Roval. If you want to put Watkins Glen or something else in there, all right. But like, to me, NASCAR, you're talking about going back to the roots and getting at its core and all that stuff. NASCAR, whatever you want to say about all these other series and all that stuff, NASCAR is the most elite pavement oval racing on the planet, in my opinion. IndyCar has some great races for sure, but NASCAR, that is the core brand. Mm-hmm. Pavement oval racing. It's amazing. Like, it's freaking badass. So the more we can see that, especially in playoff time, the better. I get that at least, there's one fewer road course race next year, I guess, right? No?
I got to do the quick math in my head. I'm sorry. I think that's right, because we lose Mexico City, we gain Chicagoland, and then swap.
You got San Diego.
Then you got San Diego. What do we? Yeah, I think that's right. I have to look at the number, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, listen, I just I think the oval's badass, so I'd love to see that. But anyway, this is a big guess here.
I have no idea, because I knew go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, you've won again, and unfortunately, it's getting very uncomfortable for me because your magic number is 2. All you have to do is get 2 correct of the next 5 races, including today, and you are the champion. It's looking like I'm going to be on some sort of a Greyhound bus or something. So
I think can we finalize this? Like, people keep asking about this. We need to knock this out. Can we agree on the Martinsville idea?
But the show gets dragged down every time we.
Well, let's just agree on the Martinsville bet. We talked about it. We were both on board.
When are we going to do that, though?
That's the question I have. Is when are you? Can you want to come to the spring race?
No, we got to pay it off before the next season starts.
I don't think the bus is that exciting. I talked to somebody this weekend, probably the same person that talked to last week, talked to me about it. It doesn't really do anything.
All right, well, we'll work on it. But
I like the Hot Wings Challenge. I think that's great.
That's not even okay. Listen, can we guess? I like you.
Yes.
This is very difficult. So you said it's too hard to guess?
It's too hard.
Okay. So you want to give me a free win?
No.
Oh,
no.
Because I'll take it.
No, you need the help. I understand that. Okay. There was a point in this race, I kid you not, I was texting somebody, and I'm like, this number is going to be in the 20s. And I don't know, man. I think it would have been. People do not like the Roval. The SVG winning again. Like, there was a time in this race I really did think it was going to be in the 20s. I don't know. I don't know what to think now. I don't know if people's excitement is going to override. We'll see. But
I mean, you got your good playoff finish.
You did. Great battle there with Logano and Chastain.
You had tire wear.
Yeah,
Certainly
drama.
had tire wear, but
yeah, I think it's gonna. You're probably right. It's probably gonna be higher.
I don't know. I'm pretty shaky on this one, but all right, I got mine. Are you ready?
Hang on a second.
Way to drag down the show, Jordan.
You know what? I am sorry. You can't rush genius, okay?
Okay. All the people listening to this can be doing Jeopardy music in your head right now.
All right, fine.
All right, what do you got?
52.
Oh, crap. I got 51.
I think you win, by the way.
I don't know. I obviously did my research beforehand, and the last two Roval races, last year was 55.4. 2 years ago was 58.8.
Yeah.
Were those better races than this one?
I think there were. I think today was worse. I think you win. I think the number creeps. I wouldn't be shocked if this gets in the high 40s.
Well, 2022 Roval race was 19.2%.
Dang, you won.
So
you're gonna win. I was hoping you were gonna go higher, and I was gonna undercut you because that's what
you were trying to bait me into that. Okay,
I did. Yeah, it didn't work obviously. Yeah, you're gonna win. You're gonna win.
I don't know. I couldn't believe you were going as high as you did last week, and then Kansas got in the 90% club. So
I can't believe you didn't.
I've been too pessimistic. No, I've been too pessimistic with my guesses.
That's your problem.
Apparently.
You're too negative.
Apparently.
Well, I mean, it's just the general life thing.
Speaking of negative and stuff, should we, I'm trying not to have PTSD, but I'm also going to make sure that I stall on this podcast long enough that inspection clears. Because if you'll recall, during this podcast last year is when Alex Bowman failed inspection, and we got about 45 minutes into the podcast, and then we were like, oh my gosh. So I don't think we can go off the air of this podcast before we know that inspection's clear. Else we're going to have to do a whole other podcast.
Have you sent any text messages to anybody about inspection or anything? Okay. I will send one right now.
I've been busy doing a podcast. I pay attention to the podcast.
I multitask because that's what I do well.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, Jordan, we've gotten almost an hour into the show, and we haven't talked about the person who won the race, Mr. Shane Van Gisbergen. Jordan, maintain that he still is the GOAT of road course racing. He's now won 5 road courses in a row. Jeff Gordon won 6. So SVG's has the second most in a row. He obviously completely dominated the season. Road course wise, are you ready to admit, Jordan, that Shane Van Gisbergen is the greatest road course racer ever in NASCAR?
He is on the path to becoming the greatest road course racer in NASCAR history, but I am not ready to declare him the greatest road course racer in history. Didn't Chase Elliott also win 5 in a row?
I don't think so. I thought he won 4, maybe.
Was it 4? Let me look here. But no, I mean, he's certainly on that path, but I don't think he's there yet. I still think Jeff Gordon is the best, and if Gordon would have raced in a car that is basically purpose-built for road courses, because this is almost a sports car in a lot of ways, it would have been interesting to see how he would have done. But yeah, I think he's very, very good. I think he's got a chance to be the best when it's all said and done, but he is not there yet. We have seen runs from drivers on road courses where they win a bunch of races, and it looks like who's going to ever beat this guy? It happens. We'll see.
That was when you could build great road course cars.
Sure, but let's
just talented.
Great, and guess what? Let's also see what I'm very fascinated to see what Connor Zilic does next year and how he does, because we sit there and talk about how great Connor Zilic is on road courses. When SVG goes into the Xfinity Series, Connor Zilic is right there with him, and in fact has beaten him. And so, I to sit there and say that he's the greatest, no, I don't. I've seen what Jeff Gordon could do. I've talked to people who watched Jeff Gordon and who've been, all competed against Jeff Gordon. And they're like, man, what he did was incredible. SVG is building his case. Absolutely. But to sit there today and say that, no, I'm not going to do that.
So you're saying, okay, take prime Jeff Gordon, put him in one of the Hendrick cars today, put him in Larson's car, Byron's car, whatever. And you think that prime Jeff Gordon in this race today could have beat Shane Van Gisbergen?
Yeah, I do. Jeff Gordon's phenomenal. Like you're underselling Jeff Gordon and how great he is.
I think Jeff Gordon's great, but like nobody's better than Shane Van Gisbergen in a stock car on a road course. Nobody.
Okay.
Look, you saw the best guys go. The best guys, by the way, who have been working on their road course craft nonstop, looking at SVG's data to try to get better and having shot after shot at the guy, throwing everything they can. And look at Kyle Larson, one of the best race car drivers in the world, trying to do what he could. You still can't beat him. All the people in must-win situations in the playoffs. Reddick is a phenomenal.
Chris Buescher beat him last year.
That was before SVG was even in a full-time car. Now with a regular team, with a full regular team that like can give him. I mean, Jeff Gordon was great. He beat a lot of people at the time who there was 2 road courses a year. People weren't as good. The field was not as good when Jeff Gordon was beating them. It's just true. I mean, I think Jeff Gordon's great. He's a legend, but like to sit here and go, well, SVG would have lost to Jeff Gordon today. After what we just saw, SVG has the 3 biggest margins of victory on a road course since 1988, all in the same season. Who's beating this guy? I think it's naive to think that anybody is.
Well, I mean, Christopher Bell beat him this year.
And then he won 5 in a row.
Yeah, that's great. And we have seen other drivers have streaks like this. I'm not going to be a prisoner of the moment and sit there just because of this. Like, you look at the totality. You put Jeff Gordon in this era with all of the sims and everything else in a purpose-built car for road courses, I think he's got a really good chance.
So we still have some news of the week to discuss and stuff like that. So we're not in total stall mode yet, Jordan, but this goes on another 15 minutes. We will be.
Yeah, I still got no text message yet. I checked.
Yeah. You want to talk about, what would you like to talk about next? Lawsuit stuff or what?
Yeah, might as well do lawsuit. That's the topic du jour. Man, I don't know what it's like for you when you're at the racetrack, but I cannot walk like 5 feet without somebody wanting to talk lawsuit. It's crazy.
Oh, what do you tell them?
Buckle up. My vacation in December that I like to take every year is off the table.
How do you feel about Uptown Charlotte? A staycation.
Staycation. Lovely. I mean, it's fascinating, man. Like, I mean, in all seriousness, I don't know if people I think people within our bubble grasp it. But I don't know if casual race fans or people who just kind of passerbys recognize of how huge this is and how potentially game-changing this could be depending on how this goes. If NASCAR wins this lawsuit, I think it's very fair to say that 2311 and Front Row are probably done as race teams. And that's 2 race teams that are competitive, have won races. In the case of 2311, it's a championship caliber team. They almost won the championship a year ago. They won a crown jewel this year. They have invested a lot of money. And to be a competitive team, that is not something we've seen a lot of where new ownership has come in and spent to this level before, and they have done it. If NASCAR wins, those 2 teams are probably gone. Those are 6 charters then that are now out there that are available, and who grabs those and potentially new ownership groups that come in. That is a wild scenario potentially there. And then the other side of it is if 2311 wins and how that could impact NASCAR in so many levels. It's December 1st is quickly speeding here, and there have been so many times throughout this, ever since last fall, where I thought, well, they're going to get to this point, or they're going to get to this point, or they're going to get to this point. Like then they're going to sit down and cooler heads are going to prevail, and they're going to figure out a settlement here, and it hasn't happened. And I don't know between now and December 1st that's going to happen. Now, I think there's a possibility that come December 1st and day one of the trial, or maybe day 2 or day 3 of the trial, and you're sitting in that courtroom and all of a sudden you're like, oh, bleep, this is really happening. And all of the stuff that we maybe don't want out there is now going to get out there. Maybe that pushes everybody, but it hasn't yet. Yeah. So, I mean, we're just on track to get a settlement, and I don't see anything that's going to change that as of now.
I have some thoughts on the lawsuit as well, but first we have breaking news because there's been a disqualification. However, it's not of a playoff driver. It's of Riley Herbst. So Riley Herbst gets disqualified from the Roval this year. All the playoff drivers are good. The results are official, and Joey Logano gets the final transfer spot.
Man, do you think Kyle Busch had anything to do with Riley Herbst getting DQ'd?
I don't know, Riley Herbst might have had something to do with it too, because he slammed, he cut his own tire. Yeah. Not the best day. I guess not the best day for 2311 all the way around, is since you include him in that, and then get eliminated. Speaking of 2311, though, so the interesting thing that came out was obviously NASCAR got these team owners and other people, prospective charter owners, I guess, or to sign these statements, essentially saying, hey, we'd really love to see this settled. We really don't want this to damage the sport. We're really eager to have this resolved. And it's interesting because you read it and you go, well, who are they? You know, I guess they're filing this on behalf of NASCAR, but also you kind of look at some of the statements, like Richard Childress is, he files this statement and then he's like, yeah, and by the way, I want permanent charters. So I really want this to get resolved. Yeah. But like, so it was mentioned, you know, that, you know, that they'd like to, you know, that there's been settlement talks, right? And I guess that didn't go great in New York with a mediator. So, you know, I don't know how you get them back to the table, but you know, at least you probably know now, they probably know what the teams want, and it's going to be, you know, probably all along we thought, right? It's going to be up to the week of Thanksgiving. It's going to be a game of chicken, and we'll just see if anybody blinks or anybody says, hey, we're going all the way. But to me, you know, Michael Jordan, if he loses, okay, he's still Michael Jordan, and he's, you know, his race team goes away. Yeah, bad for the race team, but he's still going to go on. He's just going to be like, all right, fine. You know what, NASCAR, you didn't want me to participate in your sport, and you didn't want to come to the terms that I was looking for, and blah, blah. All right, great. NASCAR, though, as you talked about, I mean, the sport could change forever. So I think NASCAR has a lot more to lose, but I think neither side thinks they are going to lose. Both sides think they're going to win, and they're pretty confident about it. So I don't know if that's the lawyers telling their clients, like, hey, we've got the arguments here, and they're buying into their own arguments, but it's getting dicey, less than 2 months away now. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see. And quickly, the underlying thing of this is these two lawyers involved, Chris Yates and Jeffrey Kessler. Yates for NASCAR, Jeffrey Kessler for the teams. This is not their first rodeo, and they have done this many times against each other. And this is just my opinion, but you sometimes get the sense and you wonder, like, dude, they kind of want to maybe they want to go another round in the courts, because this is what they do. This is what they like. They like going head to head. This is what they relish. They keep score, you know. We've heard them talk trash about it in the courtroom, you know. So I'm not sitting there saying they're getting, the NASCAR and the teams are getting bad advice or whatever, but you do wonder if under the current there is like, hey, man, I got this guy. I faced off against this guy before. I got this one, you know, that kind of thing. We'll see.
what else is on your list of stuff to discuss or touch on? Now that we're free with inspection being done.
The only other thing I had on my list for today was, man, how miserable of a season is Kyle Busch having? Yeah. I don't even know what to say.
New crew chief, effective immediately, and still bad luck to start. Then he got back on the lead lap and still is like, oh, maybe he'll be able to rally, and still finish 9 laps down. So, I'm sure if you're Kyle Busch, you're pretty miserable, but can't get much worse. So,
nope.
Jordan, one thing that was interesting that I did want to discuss really quickly was about a week ago. I'm a YouTube TV subscriber. A little bit worried that YouTube and NBC weren't going to be able to work out a deal to continue that. And I was like, how am I going to watch this race today? Obviously, they ended up figuring it out. But it was an interesting wrinkle of how this came about, because the holdup this time, Jordan, was, obviously NBC and its other channels, including USA, MSNBC, all this stuff, they're separating it to a different company, a spin-off company, Versant. I don't know. So YouTube was negotiating with NBC as a whole right now, NBC Universal, but they wanted the Peacock programming. They wanted to absorb Peacock because they say, okay, well, we're paying you per subscriber, right? NBC, but then you're selling Peacock as well. And you have some exclusive sports programming just on Peacock and stuff.
Big Ten football, for example.
So they're like, can we get Peacock? We want to ingest Peacock essentially into YouTube TV. So they come up with a solution where it's like, okay, well, we're not going to give you Peacock, but we will give you the sports programming that's exclusive to Peacock. And to do that, we're going to have a creative way to do that. We're going to launch a new channel called NBC Sports Network. Have you ever heard of this before?
Wow. Where do they, what? NBC starting a sports channel, and they came up with NBC Sports Network?
NBCSN. It just flows off the tongue.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
That's crazy.
So NBCSN will be returning.
We're back, baby.
Carry, and YouTube TV will be paying for this, obviously, as well. And it will carry the sports programming. So, now there will be a place as well, in theory. In addition, right now, all the races are on USA. And maybe we could see some NASCAR races back on NBCSN next fall, perhaps. I don't know how it all worked, but
I don't know if that matters, but yeah.
Well, I'm just saying it's back and it's being carried. So
this is one of the things, like these people make a lot of money and they're a lot smarter than I am. But it's like you look at this decision to eliminate the network a few years ago, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, FS1 has made this work. Why can't you? And then they're bringing it back, and it's like people lost their jobs, friends of ours, like that kind of thing. And it's like, what? Like, come on, guys! Like, seriously, like I'm glad it's coming back. It's great, but figure it out, make it work. Fox has figured out FS1, and there's a demand for this stuff.
Cable doesn't seem to be doing amazing in general.
No, I mean, you're right. I mean, in terms of, you look at it, but you still need a secondary channel, if you will, to have, you've got all this programming. You need a backup, basically, right? And so, and you can only have so much. And yes, I mean, there's so much advantage to being on network, but you can only have so much. You only have network time. And to sit there and you talk about lead-ins and stuff like this. I mean, no offense, but like, how many Chicago Fire shows do you need to watch before, like, that's not a great lead-in for NASCAR. It's nice to have other sports as shoulder programming, as like you're watching this basketball game and it's coming down to the wire. By the way, after this, we're going to the NASCAR race. It's just like boom, boom, boom. Like, those are the people that you have a better chance of hooking than the mom sitting there watching Chicago Fire. And so I get it. Like, yeah, you're right. I mean, network is the way to go, 100%. And there's something to be said for what IndyCar did in taking less money, but having more races on the network. we've seen what they do with the ratings. Now there's a lot more to it than that. It's a lot more complicated than that. But and I admitted, I talked about this today with a few people in this industry. In a few weeks, NASCAR is going to be on big NBC at Talladega. I'm really, really curious to see what that television rating is, because we've talked a lot about ratings last few weeks and what they've been. This is a big opportunity, big race, marquee race, playoffs, big NBC. That's going to be a good sign to see what that rating is at.
I would say that, but the problem is I believe that's one of the North American F1 races at the same time that day. I think
I'm looking right now.
Either Mexico City or, one of the ones that's in the afternoon time slot, right at the same time as NASCAR. So that's going to be, I do think super speedways, obviously do well, but that could be one where F1 takes some of the racing audience away as well. I don't know, but anyway.
Hang on here. Sorry, I'm looking at the schedule. That is the weekend of. Is that the U.S. Grand Prix weekend?
Oh, is that COTA?
That is, because next week is Vegas, right? And then Talladega falls on the 19th. That is U.S. Grand Prix weekend of COTA.
Wow. So COTA and Talladega are head to head.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Man.
And you've got a unlike, you have a Formula One championship battle in line, and you've got Verstappen sitting out there. Like, it seems like unlikely, but he's still lurking.
Yeah, is that interesting? A full season points battle, Jordan? Wow, I'm glad you're enjoying that. I'm glad you're enjoying that.
No. Let me spin this for you. No. Let me spin this for you. Think how much more compelling Formula One would be if we just didn't. So right now it's just basically two McLaren drivers, right? And it's like, oh great, McLaren's gonna win the drive. No, if we had a reset in Formula One.
Oh my God!
And now look how much gains that
you know what, everybody.
Look how much Red Bull has made. Now you got Max Verstappen coming in the playoffs. And a souped up Red Bull because they're faster and they found something. We got rid of Christian Horner. Red Bull's back. F1 needs playoffs, Jeff. F1 needs playoffs. Think about that.
I'm going to
Max
start
Verstappen could be the
GoFundMe for the amount of therapy that you need to mental distress that you caused me with your.
How many ex-girlfriends have said the same thing to me? I'm really it's giving me a complex. It's really giving me a complex.
All right, everybody. Well, I'm Jeff Gluck. This is the troll, Jordan Bianchi. We'll be back with you next week. Everybody, thanks for watching The Teardown. Talk to you next time from Las Vegas. See you, everybody.